A deputy, no longer a deputy after authorities arrest him and say they found drugs in his car on jail property.
Plus, why one of the 48 people arrested in a human trafficking bust may soon be out of jail.
Light showers in the works for tonight, but much heavier rainfall and also mountain snow on the way. We'll time it out coming up.
For most species, it's the female who tends to carry the eggs, but not the case for weedy sea dragons here at the Birch Aquarium.
And passionate people hoping to raise money to find a cure for MS decided to form a team.
Our team!
CBS 8 News Live at 6 starts now.
The deputy arrested for possession of cocaine on jail property is a deputy no more. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. CBS 8's Anna Laurel spent the afternoon at the courthouse where Deputy Wareski faced a judge for the first time and confirmed for Anna he is no longer working for the Sheriff's Department.
That's right. The Sheriff's Office just confirmed to us that Alan Wareski is no longer a deputy for the San Diego County Sheriff's Office. I tried to talk to Alan outside the courthouse this afternoon and ask him about the drugs authorities say they found in his car on jail property. Are you still with the Sheriff's Department? No. This is Alan Wareski leaving the courthouse today. He answered that question but had no comment when I asked him about the suspected cocaine authorities say they found in his car parked at the Vista Detention Facility earlier this month. He was arrested February 2nd and booked into jail.
Mr. Wareski has been advised of his constitutional rights and signed the acknowledgement form. He enters not guilty to all charges, denial of all allegations.
He's out on bail, and late this afternoon he pleaded not guilty to charges of bringing drugs onto jail property.
It's a non-reducible felony. It's Penal Code Section 4573.6, which is bringing controlled substances onto jail property, and it is a maximum of 4 years in local prison.
Wareski worked in the jail, but it's not clear where he was when officers arrested him. In a statement, the Sheriff's Department says the safety of our jails is dependent upon keeping drugs from entering our facilities, and we will not tolerate misconduct from our employees.
The court will enter the not guilty plea to the
Tonight,
charge.
they're keeping that commitment. Wareski is no longer an employee, no longer a deputy. He's scheduled to be back in court in April. Outside the courthouse in downtown San Diego, this is Anna Laurel for CBS 8.
Thanks, Anna. The remains of a San Diego woman who went missing in Texas have been found. 24-year-old Felicia Johnson was last seen leaving a Houston club back in April of last year. According to the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, human remains found in the Sam Houston National Forest earlier this month are confirmed to be those of Johnson's. Tonight, police are still looking for the man who has been charged with her murder.
You may have felt it. A lot of you are telling us that you did. A loud boom and shake reported by many of you across the county about an hour and a half ago.
We are still working to find out what it was. Naval Base Coronado tells us they were not responsible and no earthquakes have been recorded.
Checked out social media. Nina told us that she felt it out in Ramona. On a lighter note, Jack Smith told us he thought it was his grandchildren. And Matt says sitting on a concrete foundation didn't feel any movement, but the house shook and got a loud bang from above.
Lindsay says she didn't feel a thing. Gisela tells us she heard and felt it in Coronado. Again, we are still working to get information on what this was, and we will bring you any new updates here and on our online platforms, the CBS 8 app, as we get them.
Last week, local law enforcement announced that 48 people were arrested in San Diego and National City as part of a sex trafficking sting called Operation Better Pathways.
Police said they conducted 17 undercover operations in January and February. Tonight, CBS 8's David Godfredson takes a closer look at the actual charges filed in court.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Sam Zucor on behalf of Marquise Davis. He's present.
30-year-old Marquise Davis was one of the 48 people arrested in Operation Better Pathways. He wasn't charged with sex trafficking. He was arrested for violating the terms of his probation. Davis was convicted of attempted pimping from an incident nearly 2 years ago off Del Burgia Street in San Diego, the same area where police conducted the recent undercover operation. Because Davis is on felony probation, he can be arrested for something as simple as possession of alcohol, and he's been in jail for the past month as a result. Of the 48 people arrested in Operation Better Pathways, 38 are charged with misdemeanors, mostly Johns on prostitution charges. 4 defendants are charged with felony sex trafficking in either state or federal court. 2 arrests were for probation violations like Davis, and 1 felony case is still pending, according to the DA's office.
This operation significantly disrupted but did not eliminate human trafficking.
As opposed to misdemeanor prostitution charges, sex trafficking charges are much more serious felonies and typically involve trafficking of a minor or coercion of adults into prostitution. Last week, police said they rescued 8 minors during the operation.
The youngest victim rescued during this operation was 13 years old. She was seen walking the street and waiting for someone to pick her up to buy sex from her.
One of the 4 defendants charged with felony sex trafficking is this man, 22-year-old Clifford Stokes Jr. Court records allege he was trafficking 2 16-year-olds and a 19-year-old woman at the time of his arrest on January 17th. He faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted in federal court.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, baby.
How you doing?
Good.
But again, the vast majority of the cases associated with Operation Better Pathways involve misdemeanor charges.
Mr. Davis no longer wants an evidentiary hearing at
And in Davis's case, a simple probation violation landed him behind bars. Davis will be back in court on Monday morning, where he is expected to admit his probation violation. His probation likely will then be reinstated, and he will be released from custody in short order. At the downtown courthouse, David Gottfredson, CBS 8.
Thank you, David. A man who ran care facilities in San Diego has been convicted of elder abuse. 57-year-old Simeon Sampson was found guilty after a 66-year-old man with Alzheimer's disease was found wandering in traffic 2 years ago. Sampson was sentenced to 30 days in jail, which he will not have to serve as long as he successfully completes a year of probation. The city attorney's office says Sampson ran several unlicensed care facilities.
The operator of the home never should have taken care of this individual. That's putting profits over somebody's safety and their health.
Sampson also has to complete 40 hours of volunteer work at a nonprofit organization.
Our 2-day break from winter storms here is coming to an end. Get ready for more rain and snow.
Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis is here early tonight to tell us when this next storm is going to get here. And I feel like I'm asking you that every day over the last 3 weeks. It's just a little bit of repeat.
Exactly. It's been a very active start to this year.
Really?
It really has. And it's definitely made a dent across town. Now we got the snow-capped mountains for us
beautiful
here.
Stuff.
They are beautiful. Just got to get there.
But hey, this is true. You're seeing it all across Southern California. You got the snow-capped mountains, you got rain, and we are now dealing with our next storm system. So the clouds are starting to roll in, and we're starting to see some showers entering across portions of North County, seeing that for Oceanside, and then moving in towards Fallbrooks. Now, we did have some heavier pockets of rain earlier today across Orange County, as well as seeing an LA area and a whole lot more that's still on the way. So the next storm system, bringing a break to the dry conditions, is set to arrive tonight. So light showers will start tonight, but the heaviest activity is expected yet again on Tuesday night, and that takes us all the way into Wednesday afternoon. So let's go ahead and set the clock in motion. Seeing some scattered shower activity all the way into the overnight hour. A lot of cloud cover more than anything else. Seeing a line of showers stretching from Escondido towards Del Mar, and that's while we're sleeping, and then seeing that moving towards the South Bay around 5:40 in the morning, and then everything calms down. Maybe some spotty activity, a little bit of frozen precipitation across the mountains by tomorrow afternoon at 12:35. But then we have yet a stronger push when it comes to the rain and also the mountain snow and some alerts that have been issued. So we'll take a look at that coming up. Carlo?
Thanks, Carlene. San Diego taxpayers are expected to pay more than $97 million in overtime for police officers and firefighters this year. That's according to a newly released mid-year report that shows the police and fire departments nearly $25 million over their overtime budgets. $9.2 million of that is for police, $15.7 for firefighters. SDPD says the overtime is needed to make up for major staffing issues inside the department, as well as an increase in violent crime. The fire department also blames low staffing.
There is a renewed push in the capital to send California families a child tax credit.
If approved, it would send low-income families roughly $1,000 per household every year. Our political reporter Morgan Reiner has details tonight from Sacramento.
Right now, California does provide low-income California families that have children under the age of 6 with a child tax credit. But Assembly member Miguel Santiago says that poverty doesn't simply stop when your child reaches the age of 6.
During the pandemic, the federal government offered tax relief to low-income Americans with kids. It meant money right in their pockets. That ended in 2021.
That was the largest anti-poverty program. The risk that we're facing here in the state of California is we could see 1.7 million children fall back into poverty.
If the federal government won't continue the assistance, he said California must.
One of the reasons we're fighting so hard for this program is because we saw what could happen when you give people a little bit of help. These are people who are working full-time jobs, often can't make ends meet, and the ability to just make that rent, the ability to just put food on the table becomes a game changer.
The bill would give families, regardless of immigration status, that make less than $30,000 a year, $1,083 if they have kids under the age of 18, if they have children aged 19 to 23 who are students, or if any child of any age has permanent and total disabilities.
Because we know that if you have to care for somebody, that care is going to be for life. And we want to make sure that people aren't falling into poverty and landing homeless.
The program comes at a cost and at a time when the state is facing a $22 billion deficit.
We're looking at about close to $700 million per year, but for a very important program. And look, if California can afford and has in the past sending middle-class refunds to those who are making $500,000 a year, we could afford to make sure that those who are living on the verge of poverty at $30,000 and below to be able to get this child tax credit.
Santiago introduced a similar bill last session that would extend the child tax credit, but just one time. That bill did not make it through. It failed. Now, I reached out to several California organizations, the California Tax Association, the Howard Jarvis Tax Foundation, to see where they stand on a proposal like this one. I have not heard back from them, but I did reach out to the California Republican Caucus, and they told me that they would have to look further into this before they could publicly comment on it.
Thank you, Morgan. Still ahead tonight, the link between a zero-calorie sweetener and heart attacks.
Plus, the species where the male does almost all of the work when the babies are on the way. We explain in an Earth 8 report.
But first, the winter storms that began here in California are causing devastation in other parts of the country.